We're going to go ahead and go through multiplying radicals day 1. Your homework will be radicals worksheet number 6. So at the top, it goes ahead and lists the steps that you will need to take in order to multiply radicals. So unlike adding and subtracting, when we go to multiply, we do not need the same radicand. We can put things together if they have the same radical. So what we're going to go ahead and do to multiply radicals, we're going to multiply the coefficients, so the numbers in front of the radicals, and then we're going to go ahead and multiply the radicands, so the numbers under the radicals. So radical A times radical B is going to equal radical AB. So you multiply outside, that answer stays outside. You multiply inside, that answer stays inside. After you have done that, your next job is to then go ahead and simplify any resulting radical. So radical 2 times radical 8, those are both already under the radical, so we're going to go ahead and multiply them under the radical. So 2 times 8 would make that radical 16. Now that we have that radical, we are able to go ahead and find the square root of 16, which is 4. So that final answer would be 4. So moving to the next one, radical 6 times radical 4. We're going to go ahead and multiply those to get radical 24. We can break up radical 24 into radical 4 times radical 6, which gives us 2 radical 6. The next example, we finally have numbers out in front. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply those numbers out in front, and that's going to go in front of my radical. Then the numbers that are under the radical, we're going to go ahead and multiply, and those are going to go under my radical. So 3 times 5 is 15, so 15 goes out in front. 2 times 10 is 20, so 20 goes under the radical. We then need to look at, can we simplify this? Well, radical 20, we can break into radical 4 and radical 5. So this radical 4 would become 2. So out in front with the 15, we would get 30, radical 5 for my final answer. Same thing's going to happen on the next one. We have some numbers out in front and some numbers under the radical. So 5 and negative 3 are out in front, so we're going to multiply those to get negative 15. That would be in front of our radical. 10 and 5 are under the radical, so we're going to go ahead and multiply those and get 50. That would be under our radical. So I'd have negative 15, radical 50. I'm not done yet, though, because radical 50 can be broken up. We're going to go ahead and break that up into radical 25 and radical 2. So this would become a 5. We would multiply anything that's outside, so negative 15 times 5 is negative 75, radical 2. On this one, we're back to under the radicals, but we're introducing variables. So under the radical, we would go ahead and multiply. 8 times 8 is 64. X to the third times x to the 7th. If you remember your exponent rules, we add those. So I'd get x to the 10th. We could then go ahead, do the square root of 64, the square root of x to the 10th. The square root of 64 is 8. This is an even exponent, so I divide it in half. 8x to the 5th would be my answer. Negative 7 times negative 2 makes positive 14 outside. 5 times 5 inside makes 25 inside. Well, the square root of 25 is 5, so 14 times 5 gives us an answer of 70. On the next two, my suggestion to you would be to think about, what does that square mean? So when we square something, we're multiplying it by itself. So this would be negative 2 radical 5 times negative 2 radical 5. So now we have a problem that looks similar to what we were just doing. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Radical 5 times radical 5 is radical 25. This becomes a 5, so 4 times 5 gives us an answer of 20. Looking at the next one, same idea. 3 radical 2x times 3 radical 2x. You go ahead and try to multiply those. So in your final answer, I believe, should be 18x. So 3 times 3 is 9. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. So this would become a 2 out in front, a 2x. So I'd get 9 times 2x, which is 18x. The next one has quite a bit to it, so go ahead and make sure you're taking your time. So we're going to go ahead and multiply what's out in front and then what's inside. So we should get an answer of negative 80m to the fourth. So we would get negative 5 and 2 makes negative 10. 2 and 32 is 64. M to the 6th and m squared is m to the 8th. Well, 64 is 8. M to the 8th is m to the 4th. So I'd get negative 10 times 8m to the 4th, which is that negative 80m to the 4th.